Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Carew Show. Now, we've got some very special guests here this morning. We've got my dear friend here, once again, Lowkey Baller, Ayo, and also...
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Oh, my goodness, man. This is a long-awaited... It's Andrew Wilding, Freestyler.
What's up? How you doing?
Yeah, we're all good, bro. What we wanted to ask you is, what inspired you? And in basketball, that is, what inspired you in basketball?
Yeah, this is actually a really good question. What inspired me to play basketball was the movie Space Jam. So I was at that age where, everyone was, maybe some may remember the Sunny D basketball. What a great campaign that was. And then accompanied with Space Jam, it just got me into the game of basketball. Right. But what really got me into doing like the tricks and the skills and what I sort of ended up being my forte was at the very beginning of Space Jam, there was an advert for the Harlem Globetrotters. Right. So I saw that and thought, wow, that looks so cool. The guy rolled it down his shoulders. And it was just things like the ball control that you wouldn't see in an ordinary game. And I got hooked to things like that. And I started doing my own tricks. And I was really fortunate enough. And then I'm going to lead on to a story that's a little bit bittersweet for me. It's what inspired me to play the game. So I ended up meeting a group of guys at my local park. I grew up in Plymouth, Devon, and I went to Freedom Fields. And at the time, it was when And One had just blown up and everyone was trying to replicate what And One was doing. Yeah. And there was a team called Streetball Extreme. Right. They were local to where I went to play basketball. And they were doing tricks, they were filming, they made mixtapes. And to me, they were just these really cool dudes at the park who I just aspired to be like. So they really got me hooked. And then when they released their first mixtape, I'm 13 years old, but I made the mixtape by doing one of my cool moves that I saw in the Harlem Globetrotters video. So that was like my bragging rights to show my friends, and that really led on. And they became quite big. They had their own TV show. They were doing tours. And as the years went on, and I was the youngest member of the team, I was like the gimmick. I was like the young kid who will bust your ass, the young kid who got skills. And it was like the gimmick. So I went on tour with these guys. And as, time went on, I got older, became, into my late teens. And we started to do jobs and we're getting paid for it. So, I'm 15, 16, 17 and getting paid to play basketball and do what I love. It was like a dream come true. And then it gets to the point where, you see there was a select few that could have a career in that field. Yeah. And then I started to do bigger events. I was performing at the O2. I was being jetted out overseas just to do tricks and skills. And then so that was the bit of it. That was the sweet bit. Moving on to the bit of it. Right. So where we were doing tricks and skills and getting paid, not much, might I add, but as a young boy, it was the experience more than anything. But then it got to the point where we started to find out that actually that the leader of the group was being a bit of a con man and taking money from others, exploiting others. And it became really sort of bitter that way. And I understand we were all happy to sort of agree to a fee. And I think if you agree to a fee, that's great. But when it gets to the point where, we've built this together, from me being a 13-year-old kid to then 18 years old, and then going from the parks to arenas was, we've really rode that journey together. I would sit in, the operational suite. I learned how to edit. I was editing mixtapes. I was really involved. And I just wanted to, have my career be basketball, and being what I was paid, it wasn't going to happen. So at 18, I went on this job in Germany, and it was through an agent, and the agent paid us handsomely. Now, on the way back, on the flight, we were talking to the agent, and he asked us about a previous job that we did that was maybe a couple of weeks before, and we're like, it was amazing. It was a huge arena. We really loved it. Only thing was, you know, for such a high profile event, we thought that the finance would be a bit better. And we told him what it was, because it was our agents. We could talk money. And he was like, hold on. I actually booked that job through this guy to get you guys.
Wow.
You were paid handsomely, just like this one. And we were like, no way. And then the penny dropped, and it was like confirmed. And we were like, do you know what? I'm going to make the decision to go out on my own back. And I sort of removed myself from Streetville Extreme. And as grateful as I am for the platform that Streetville Extreme provided and the friends, I'm still friends with all those guys, and the experiences. But I wanted to make a career of it, and it wasn't going to happen. So that was my confirmation to say, look, I'm going to part ways. And what was really disappointing for me is the con man, he didn't even reply to me, didn't pick up the phone, didn't message me back. And this is a guy that would be ringing my house on Christmas Day to see what presents I got as a kid. And we really grew this thing. As soon as I said, I would like this to be my job too, and he didn't respect it, and he didn't even reply to me. So that was my real bittersweet. So I appreciate the guy, but I always, you know, wish that we were able to maintain a relationship after that, but it never happened. But that's what inspired me to the game.
Oh, wow. I really appreciate you coming on board as well, and Andrew, because I know sometimes there's been obstacles. I've mentioned this as well with Ayo, and just to reiterate everything in the show, I think sometimes we try our best to try and be perfectionist. You know, like there's nothing out there where you can be anything as perfect, because when you try and do a recording like we're doing now, I know this is going to be pre-recorded. There may even be some live ones, you know, in the foreseeable future with them you guys, you know, interested in that. But what I'm actually would like to mention is that when you get going, I mentioned this to Ayo as well. Once you get going, you get this buzz. It must be the same for both of you. Once you get something going, you get that euphoria inside you, and that feeling where you think, wow, man, this is actually really happening. You know, like with yourself, when you're performing, no doubt the first time you ever perform, you think, oh my goodness, this really happening to me? You know, when your first ever gig, you know, and like with yourself, Ayo, you know, like now next to you with Ayo, for yourself, what was it like for you? You know, when you started your branding, you know, for Lowkey Ballers, you know, it was real. You know, the first time your first apparel, your t-shirt come out, you know, your orders. What was that for you? What was that like for you, Ayo?
Wow, for me, it was definitely a moment of where you kind of have to like look back and think, is this actually happening? Because I remember when I got my first image of the brand, when I sent it to someone to create for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, like this is actually going to start happening. And then I got my first t-shirt as well, and from then it was like, wow, this brand thing is actually happening, because I've never ever done that kind of thing before. Like when you build something from the ground up, it's almost like your baby, if you know what I mean. Like the first time you see it, it's just amazing.
And yourself as well, Andrew. What was it like when you did your first gig? You know, what was your feeling? You know, with the crowd behind you.
Do you know what? It's a little bit overwhelming, because you don't imagine it when you first pick up a ball and start doing it. Like the first thought, like you don't imagine like the end result of what has been achieved. But I just remember going out to this audience. It was with a few friends, so that always increases the experience, because you get to share it with your loved ones. And I just remember just looking around thinking, these people are here to see us. So let's put on a show. But yeah, really overwhelming.
And the other thing is, guys, now I'm not sure whether any of the other guys out there in the audience will be aware of this, but both of you guys actually know each other quite well. You know each other, and you've actually played ball together as well.
We have.
We have, yeah. I've busted his ass many a time.
Yeah, very, very much so. Got my ankles in a couple of times. Can't keep up.
No, yeah, we've played basketball for a number of years together.
Yeah.
And when you get to play basketball with someone, you really get to see their character behind, the moves, their ability, and I can really put my hand on my heart and say Ayo is one straight up dude.
Thank you, bro. I do remember the first time we played together. You came down. Like I can know someone's a baller when I first see them do their first move. From the very first move, I was like, yeah, this guy's a baller, man. You gotta be careful with this guy, man. For sure. And it was such a good session. I remember that session. It was such a good session.
We've had a few good sessions.
Yeah.
Had a few.
Right. The other one question I'd like to ask both of you: if there was anyone that you could speak to right now and have dinner with, dead or alive, who would it be? And that's you, Andrew.
This is an easy one. This is an easy one for me.
For me, obviously be Kobe for me.
Oh, Kobe for you, yeah. What about yourself, Andrew?
For me, it's LeBron James.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fair.
I think, and actually, both of those answers, I think, are maybe quite similar because,
yeah, pretty much.
Some of the great cerebral players, completely different mentalities. So, yeah, I think there'd be a lot to talk about over that.
Yeah, definitely.
Ah, that's a good one. And where would you like to go to in terms of travel, if you have, and that's like a favorite place, even like you like to go to more often, or you haven't been there yet and you'd like to go there? That's your plan, travel wise.
Yeah, so I've got a couple. So I've been really fortunate enough that basketball's taken me around the world. But a few places that are still on my list are places like Vegas. I want to go to Vegas because of, the spectacle it is. They know how to put on a show. So for that reason, I'd like to go to Vegas and just see, the bright lights and how they do things and see if there's anything I can take from that. And in other places, I want to go to Hawaii because, one, I know some dudes out in Hawaii. Their culture just looks incredible. Yeah, I want to go there and just, enjoy my time at the beach, hoop a bit. Yeah, that's me.
Oh. So in terms of like gigs for yourself, Andrew, have you got any up and coming gigs or plans, or what's your plans at the moment, and what would you like to do?
Yeah, I do. So I'm just recently back from Italy, not working. I was in Italy for 2 months, visiting family. My girlfriend's Italian, so we were able to go out there. And whilst we were out there was a dunk contest, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to enter a dunk contest. I'm getting old. And my girlfriend was like, no, they really want you to go in. So I did, and I ended up winning the dunk contest.
Wow.
Which I couldn't believe it. One of the dudes were talented. They could jump. But yeah, I got it over them. He finished it with a scorpion dunk. I did my thing, and I got the win. But whilst I was out there, I had to turn down a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll give a shout out to my main man, Laszlo Puskas, the trick star.
Oh yeah.
Who is a tremendous freestyler. And I was able to hook him up with all these jobs. He was at, he was in Romania. He was at the Commonwealth Games. He was performing at live events in Park. So he was doing this thing on my behalf, and he represented. But my next one is I'm doing a private party this weekend for a select few, and they are really interested in basketball. I think they're about 13 years old, the kids there, and they just love basketball. So for this private party, they just decided to get a freestyler to show the kids some tricks and skills. Who knows, maybe one of those kids sees one of these moves that I do and just goes, wow, that's something I want to do. He may be the next guy traveling the world. Fingers crossed.
Amazing.
God. Wow. No, that's amazing. Actually, now you mention it, who would you like to see next on board? Because I'd love to have you guys on here, even like on another interview with Laszlo. Would that be possible? You know, do you think that it'd be great to have you guys even do some tricks for us as well?
Laszlo's my guy. Definitely. So definitely have to get him on board. And if you're going to get Laszlo, you're going to have to get Taron.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Taron as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be
the whole crew.
Oh, you gotta have a trio.
That's the UK
Three
freestyle
musketeers
scene
right there.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a dream team now going. We've had it official here now, guys. Oh wow, this is amazing! I'm buzzing at the moment, guys. This is raw. Because the thing is, Andrew, I've mentioned this to Ayo as well. Some of the things that we'll be mentioning, you'll probably see some bloopers as well, which is funny because there'll be some stuff, and yeah, no, there'll be some edited stuff, unedited stuff. But yeah, it's good to keep it raw because sometimes when you're being too formal, I've noticed this, you start getting a bit. You know, you see some people and I've seen it on interviews, I've watched people, they get really tense and then they start asking questions like I mentioned to you previously, even before, behind the scenes, folks. You know, people have got their own private life. You know, you got to watch what you ask, which is great. And, you know, there's got to be particular questions, not stupid ones, guys, you know, like, you know, private things, you know, everyone's got a private life, haven't they, guys, you know, and we like to keep it professional as well and have a bit of fun at the same time. In regards to other questions as well, outside, what would you say in terms of about a trick? What is the most funniest and unusual trick you've ever done? That's what I'd like to ask you, Andrew.
I would like to know.
All right. So the most unusual, I find this is a really difficult question for me because I've got there's a lot of moves that I work on that I've been able to master and put into my act. I would say some of the most difficult ones are the ones that I've actually now mastered. It takes a long time to get it. So the crowd favorite is the one where you spin two balls on one finger. That's the crowd favorite. But because it's the crowd favorite, you see lots of people do it now. There's freestylers all around the world, and it's now like a fundamental move. But there's loads of different ways to do it. So there's Tommy Baker's The Impossible Trick. Well, it was done by a circus performer originally, but I'm giving credit to Tommy because he really brought it into the basketball freestyle scene. So Tommy Baker, for those that don't know, is a pioneer of freestyle, someone I aspire to be like within the UK. He was without question the best in the world for a very long time. And yeah, he would get the ball, spin on his finger, get one on his foot, flick it up into the back of his neck, stand up without looking, back heel it, because I know people do this and they look at the ball to back heel it. He does it without looking, completely blind, over his head, lands on top of that ball, and they're both spinning. So that's the impossible trick. And that one is a good one. I've been able to do it a few times. I've never been able to put it in my show like Tommy did. But there's other moves that I like to do. I like to incorporate my athleticism within the show, front flips, back flips, handstands, jumping on my hands. So, and then combining like the juggling moves where you roll in 3 balls around your chest. So there's a lot. And there's one that I'm working on that I've seen. There's another guy. He's now a Harlem Globetrotter. His name's Kid. His nickname in the Globies is Dazzle. And he does this move where he spins the ball on his finger and he does a front flip and keeps the ball spinning on his finger. I actually tried this for the very first time yesterday and failed miserably. So I've got to try a few more times before I get it. I've always been able to do the flip, but I just need to get used to doing it with the ball on my finger. I've seen him do it a few years ago. And I thought, I need to give that a go, but never got around to doing it. So I actually tried it yesterday. Yeah, I think it's possible. So stay tuned. I'll be posting it on my Instagram as soon as I get it.
Well, we'll share it. We'll share it, bro. I'll share it. And what was it like in the US when you performed there?
Yeah, so I actually went to the US for the first time when I was 17. So I actually had just moved from Plymouth, where I mentioned I grew up, and went over to sort of Essex in London. It was like 2 weeks after I moved, I got this job in the US for Red Bull, and it was a freestyle tournament. And what was really good about that was that there were freestylers from all around the world. Tommy Baker was one of them. And then there were guys who used to play for Dime in Canada. There were guys that played in New York at the Mecca. There were people from Japan, Puerto Rico. They were all over the place. And it really just brought us together. We'd never met each other before, and we got on like a house on fire the instant we saw each other, because we just shared a passion of basketball, tricks. We engaged with each other instantly, and it was really nice to sort of see that. And in America, what I loved is we had a day off. So we were there, we did the tournament, and the day off, we went out and just sort of roamed the streets for a bit. What I loved was you just walk past one block and there were guys hooping, and it was packed. There were guys with their shirts off, sweating. So you know that they had a full-on workout. And then you go down the next block, it's the exact same thing. The next one. I must have seen about 10 basketball courts packed with guys going to work. And over here, sometimes I travel, an hour and a half one way to get to a court where I'm going to get a good run. Because of course I could go down the road, but get shots up by myself. But if you want the competition, then you got to travel. There, it was like everyone, and this is what I like. It becomes regional. Everyone sort of reps their area, and they want their area to be the best, and they do it by making each other better. And you can see it just by walking down the road.
Cool. And the other question is I like to ask of both of you, this is for both of you, what would you like to see change in basketball? Is it whether if it's the UK or abroad? Because I know there's a lot now where youngsters, I've noticed just around the corner from me that we've got a hoop there, and there's more and more youngsters now have started to show more interest in the actual game. What would you like to see change of what and what have you noticed about in the game itself from both of you? Oh, guys, you're right. Hello.
You might you're having some technical difficulties right now.
Yeah.
You okay?
Do you want to go first on that one, Andrew? Oh, I think he's back. Okay, he's back.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
cool?
Can we hear you?
Yeah.
Hey, you good?
Yeah, well, so the question is, what would we like to see change?
Yeah, what would you like to see change in basketball world? Because I've noticed it's in the UK. We've discussed this before, haven't we, Ayo? There's a lot of things that are now people from like Europe, even the UK, are starting to in certain areas. Even like, for example, Rittle. I know they've started something there with the 3-on-3 competitions. Been doing my homework and looking at the way things are developing now. I know it's slow and it's gradual in some areas, but I think people from outside Essex, and there are sparsely sort of in and around Essex, I know there are ballers. I think it's just more of seeing them in a particular area, where you've got the courts there, you've got Adidas courts, and then you've got other places like Rittle, maybe even Chelmsford, parts of the Central Park. I know there's some the basketball community that you're part of as well, Ayo, there, and maybe even yourself, Andrew. I just wanted to see what your thoughts are in terms of basketball and what you'd like to see the changes of and its development.
Cool. Ayo, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure. Personally, I would love for basketball to become more ingrained within the culture, if you know what I mean. For basketball to be more of a culture kind of thing within the UK. Because, for example, when you look at it in the US, it's like it's literally part of the I much. Like basketball is it's just so popular over there. Not only to be able to compete better at it, but it also allows them to be able to fund it better, so the people have more opportunity to be able to have like basketball specific facilities, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, because it's such a big thing, like it's it's given so many more resources. That's what I would love to see in the UK, for us to be able to allow the young kids to be able to compete at a high level, and then for us to be able to have like some basketball specific facilities as well. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, but I'll take it one step further. So one thing that I've noticed in the UK is we've got some talent. We've got some really, really good ballers. They are very talented, very athletic, so skilled, and so the ballers, the players isn't the problem, because we've got that.
Yes.
I think what I would like to see is the culture change. So I'd like to see people want to, support their brothers. I would like them to, be proud of when someone is coming up from the same place where they come up. That's a very American thing, where if you see someone, even New York, right? You could say New York, but then you really categorize it and be like, oh, this guy from the Bronx has come up, so everyone from him follows through.
Yeah.
Stephen Marbury from Coney Island. Everyone from Coney Island supported him. Everybody. So imagine if we had the same thing, where everyone had pride in their area and be like, he's from where I'm from, I'm going to support this guy. And then just see, people really turned a sport into a spectator sport, because it should be, because of the talent we have. People need to see it. So if people really sort of embedded it into the culture and backed the game, and it became more of a spectator's game, then I think the game would be in a very good place in the UK right now. And it starts from facilities, but also having, the capacity to support. So when people are building courts, Clapham Common did a really good job. So Sam Neater at Hoops Fix, he made sure that they had the bleachers, and that was a really key important component of that court, because when there were going to be events, he going to be necessary, and that's really important to build the game. Do you ever remember watching the And One mixtapes, where you see guys trying to climb fences to get a better view? We don't have that, because we don't have the guys wanting to come to see other people play. A lot of the time, it's a big tournament, and it's players waiting to get on the court. So it looks like a vibe. Really, we want people to get there, show up, and watch the players, do their thing. And then get paid tickets, big arenas. Next thing you know, the BBL is going to be selling out. You'd be lucky to get a season ticket. Right now, I walk up at any time in the year, get my season ticket, no problem. Get a ticket, no problem. I want it to be difficult, because there's so much demand. We're not there yet.
To get a ticket. I think I do see people start to make little changes, but that's the basketball community like start to make changes. Like, people outside the basketball community, they need to start making some changes as well, like for funding, or even if it's just giving us a greater platform to be able to show the basketball. I was gonna say, like I said, there's some people starting to make some changes, like Sam with his hoop fix stuff. Oh my days, he's doing such a good job of representing basketball in the UK. He's done amazing. So I think a lot of the people with the community are trying to push forward now. But like I said, we need some help from outside the community as well.
No, absolutely.
That's true. What I'd like to say is thank you guys. I really appreciate this. My idea of the reason why I started doing this is I was a little bit sort of felt hands up confession here. I wasn't quite sure of how to go about, giving that level of exposure. It wasn't just about me. I'd like to share people's successes, even the little wins. I mentioned this to Ayo, even like to build, not just build a community, but give that level of exposure to people like you mentioned, Andrew, support guys, out there where you've got mini teams, even leading into college, university, things like that. And then even other people as well outside of basketball that can branch out into other things, people out there that sometimes like the underdog that never gets mentioned, they just get brushed aside. They think, oh, well done, clap your hands, here you go, here's a voucher, and it's more than that. Sometimes even having oh, thank you, and then you get these surprises of, where, like, for example, someone could be watching you right now, like live, and then having a child go, oh my goodness, it's just like seeing someone that you was aspiring to see, Andrew, when you were younger. If you meet someone that you idolize or you've been watching, and then it's, to us, obviously, we're human like they are, but to them, it's just like an iconic thing for them. It's something like that. And this is why I started the feelcarew.com, because what I wanted to do is to start off something where, like, you guys give you that level of exposure of, where you can aspire other people as well, and other youngsters, because you do get other people where some young children, that they need people to look up to. There's a lot of things out there. The other thing is, which obviously is off the cuff, is good, because basketball as well, I've noticed this, because I'm a mental health ambassador and advocate for things. How do you see in terms of that? I know I haven't mentioned it on there off the cuff. I can sort of keep this on if need be. Both of you, how do you feel about that in terms of, like, youngsters and other people of all ages, in getting involved in anything, with any kind of level of interest or sport, how that helps? Because as yourself as an athlete and as a performer, and even yourself as a brand owner, there must be things that have sort of pushed you and think, what, I love basketball, it keeps me sane. I've thought that all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. You can
Go
go
on,
first,
guys.
man.
Thanks, mate. I was going to say, I mentioned earlier how basketball, when you play with someone, you get to see who they are as a person a lot of the time. And I think in terms of like a mental health place, it's a lot of people's getaway. Whatever's going on at home, you can get away, and you don't have to think about anything but the game. But if there's something really serious that people are struggling to, forget about whilst they're playing, you can see it in someone. Like, I've gone to a training session, and I've played with the group of guys that I've played with for years, and then I can tell something's not right with my buddy. Yeah. I can go over to him and have a chat. There's something, and he didn't have to tell me anything, but you can tell through playing basketball that something's not right. He may be down, he may be thinking too long, he might not be ready to catch a pass, or he may just be like uber aggressive. You don't know what it could be, but it might be just something that's different. You'd be like, what's going on, buddy? Like, after the game, be like, is everything okay? And it's a real indicator. So sometimes it's difficult, especially for men, to really talk about their mental health.
Yeah.
So to create an environment where you don't even need to talk about it for it to be identified is, only going to be beneficial. We just need, it to be visible so that people know, hold on, something's not right here. Let's have a chat. Like, if you've got a good enough relationship with one of your pals to be able to say, hey, dude, like, I'm here if you need me. Even if you just want to chat about it, that's okay. And I think it goes a really long way, because it is everyone's getaway. So you want it to remain that.
You know, I appreciate that. Thanks, Andrew. What about yourself, Ayo? How do you feel about this?
I can only agree with what Andrew just said. But the the atmosphere when you play basketball with people and you know them really well, you can always identify it. People are always so outgoing. So when they have an issue, you can tell because they will be a little bit withheld. They won't go as much as they normally would. And also in terms of like people having role models, I think that's really important. That's really one of the key things with my brand as well. Because for me, I always love basketball. When I see the the fit young guys, athletic, play basketball, it only motivates me to want to play it as well. But I've noticed that there's some people that they don't really want to play because obviously they might not fit the ideal image of a basketball player.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was a struggle to play in uni games because first of all the kit didn't fit because I'm a big guy and I was a little bit embarrassed. But thanks to my brothers on the team and my coaches as well, they gave me the confidence to be able to play, and that's what I want to be able to provide to the community as well. So anyone that doesn't fit the ideal image of a basketball player, I want to do.
Right, both of you guys. I know this is going to be possibly edited in some areas and there just to help wrap things up. What would you say to those out there, the audience, in terms of going ahead and doing something? Let's just say, for example, they're stuck, and there's other youngsters out there, or even other people of all ages. How would you say, and how would they get started in terms of doing what they aspire to do? Like, for example, your business, Ayo, and even yourself, Andrew. With even basketball or even performing or doing something. Because I know there's some people there where they're like, yeah, I want to do this, and then I've sort of put my hand up to this. I'll say, yeah, I want to do this, and then there'll be something, and you think, well, what do you need to do? What is what is it about both of you guys that sort of going to help people out there? Just to sort of wrap things up.
I agree.
Can you hear me?
You know, how
I can see the time going down a little.